blue-green lavender stuff of the Baldy's uniforms. Head turning now so that the eyes could see the necessary switch. An explanation from the alien and... But the Baldy never had a chance to complete that turn. Look behind him. Ross sprang and struck with the side of his hand. The hairless head snapped forward. His hands already hooked in the other's armpits, the Terran heaved the alien up and over onto the deck of the control cabin. It was only when he was about to bind his captive that Ross discovered the Baldy was dead. A blow calculated to stun the alien had been too severe. Breathing a little faster, the Terran rolled the body back and hoisted it into the navigator's swing seat, fastening it with the takeoff belts. One down, how many left? He had little time to wonder, for before he could reach the well once again, there was a call from below, sharp and demanding. The Terran searched his victim, but the Baldy was unarmed. Again a shout, then silence. Too complete a silence. How could they have guessed trouble so quickly? Unless the Baldy's mental communication had been at work. They might even now know their fellow was dead. But not how he died. Ross was prepared to grant the Baldy super-Terran abilities, but he did not see how they could know what had happened here. They could only suspect danger, not know the form it had taken, and sooner or later one of them must come to adjust the switch. This could be a duel of patience. Ross squatted at the edge of the well, trying to make his ears supply him with hints of what might be happening below. Had there been an alteration in the volume of vibration? He set his palm flat on the deck, tried to deduce the truth, but he could not be sure. That there had been some slight change he was certain. They could not wait much longer without making an attempt to reopen the air supply regulator. Or could they? Again, Ross was hampered by lack of information. Perhaps the Baldies did not need the same amount of oxygen his own kind depended upon. And if that were true, Ross could be the first to suffer in playing a waiting game. Well, air was not the only thing he could cut off from here, though it had been the first and most important to his mind. Ross hesitated. Two-edged weapons cut in both directions. But he had to force a counter move from them. He pulled another switch. The control room, the whole of the ship was plunged into darkness. No sound from below this time. Ross pictured the interior layout of the ships he had known. 2 levels down to reach the engine room. Could he descend undetected? There was only one way to test that. Try it. He pulled the Foana cloak about him. Were several rungs down on the ladder when the glow in the walls came on. An emergency switch? With a forward scramble, Ross swung into one of the radiating side corridors. The sliding door panels along it were all closed. He could detect no sounds behind them. But the vibration in the ship's walls had returned to its steady beat. Now the Terran realized the folly of his move. He was more securely trapped here than he had been in the control cabin. There was only one way out, up or down the ladder, and the enemy could have that under observation from below. All they would need to do was to use a flamer or a paralyzing ray, such as the one he had turned over to Ash several days ago. Ross inched along to the stairwell. A faint pad of movement, a shadow of sound from the ladder. Someone on the way up. Could they mentally detect him? Know him for an alien intruder by the broadcast of his thoughts? The Baldies had a certain respect for the Foana, and might desire to take one alive. He drew the robe about him, using it to muffle his figure completely as the true wearers did. But the figure pulling painfully up from rung to rung was no Baldy. The lean Avakian arms, the thin Avakian face, drawn of feature, painfully blank of expression, Locust, under the same dread spell as it held the warriors in the Citadel courtyard. Could the aliens be using this Avakian captive as a defense shield, moving up behind him? Locust's head turned. Those blank eyes regarded Ross, and their depths were troubled, recognition of a sort returning. The Avakian threw up one hand in a beseeching gesture and then went to his knees in the corridor. "Great One! Great One!" The words came from his lips in a breathy hiss as he groveled. Then his body went flaccid, and he sprawled face down, his twisted leg drawn up as if he would run but could not. "Foana!" The one word came out of the walls themselves, or so it seemed. "Foana!" The wise learn what lies before them when they walk alone in the dark. The Avakian's speech was stilted, accented, but understandable. Ross stood motionless. Had they somehow seen him through locust eyes, or had they been alerted merely by the Avakian's call? They believed he was one of the Foana. Well, he could play that role. "Foana," sharper this time, demanding, "you lie in our hand. Let us clasp the fingers tightly, and you shall be naught." Out of somewhere the words Carrera had chanted in the Foana temple came to Ross, not in her Polynesian tongue, but in the English she had repeated, and softening his voice to his best approximation of the Foana sing-song, Ross sang, "Ye 40,000 gods, ye gods of sea, of sky, of stars," he improvised. "Ye elders of the gods that are, ye gods that once were, ye that whisper, yet that watch by night, ye that show your gleaming eyes." "Foana," the summons was on the ragged edge of patience. "Your tricks shall not move our mountains." "Ye gods of mountains," Ross returned, "of valleys, of shades, and not the shadow." He wove in the beliefs of this world too. "Walk now this world between the stars." His confidence was growing, and there was no use in remaining pent in this corridor. He would have to chance that they were not prepared to kill summarily one of the Foana. Ross went to the well, went down the ladder slowly, keeping his robe about him. Here at the next level there was a wider space about the opening and 3 door panels. Behind one must be those he sought. He was buoyed up by a curious belief in himself, almost as if wearing this robe did give him in part the power attributed to the Foana. He laid his hand on the door to his right and sent it snapping back into its frame, stepped inside as if he entered here by right. There were 3 Baldies. To his Terran eyes they were all superficially alike, but the one seated on a control stool had a cold arrogance in his expression, a pitiless half-smile which made Ross face him squarely. The Terran longed for one of the Foana staffs and the ability to use it. To spray that energy about this cabin might reduce the Baldy defenses to nothing. But now 2 of the paralyzing tubes were trained on him. "You have come to us, Foana. What have you to offer?" demanded the commander, if that was his rank. "Offer?" For the first time Ross spoke. "There is no reason for the Foana to make any offer, slayer of women and children. You have come from the stars to take, but that does not mean we choose to give." He felt it now, that inner pulling, twisting in his mind, the willing which was their more subtle weapon. Once they had almost bent him with that willing, because then he had worn their livery, a spacesuit taken from the wrecked freighter. Now he did not have that chink in his defense, and all that stubborn independence and determination to be himself alone resisted the influence with a fierce inner fire. "We offer life to you, Foana, freedom of the stars. These other dirt creepers are nothing to you. Why take you weapons in their cause? You are not of the same race." "Nor are you." Ross' hands moved under the envelope of the robe, unloosing the 2 hidden clasps which held it. That bank of controls before which the commander sat. To silence that would cause trouble, and he depended upon Wylan. The rovers should now be massed at either end of the canyon, waiting for the force field to fail and let them in. Ross steadied himself, poised for action. "We have something for you, star men." He tried to hold their attention with words.